Okay, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of God, the most compassionate, most merciful. Very lovely to see all of you. We are honored to have Professor Kameel with us today. And just by way of introduction, Professor Ahamed Kameel Mydin Meera holds a PhD in finance from the University of North Texas and degrees in economics from the International Islamic University, Malaysia. He's widely known for his work on money, monetary justice, and real money systems, particularly gold-backed currencies. He's the author of The Islamic Gold Dinar, The Theft of Nations, and Real Money, and has also served as Dean at the IIUM. He is currently the Deputy Vice Chancellor for Academic and Research at the University Sultan Azlan Shah in Malaysia. So very, very happy to have him today with us. I've seen a sneak peek of the slides. They look very, very good and exciting. So hopefully you'll all benefit. Make sure you have a pen with you so you can make notes. I'm sure it's going to be very educational. Professor Kameel, I will hand over to you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Brother Omar. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Assalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidina Muhammadan Nabil Ummi wa ala alihi ajma'in. Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana innaka antal alimul hakim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh to everyone. I hope you all are doing good. And then first I'd like to thank you for inviting me to give this a short lecture, a discussion. The topic given to me, if I may share the slides with you, the topic given to me to address is as this. Okay. So fixing a broken system. The system you're talking about here is the monetary system, yeah? Lessons from the post-Bretton Woods Fiat era and the case for Islamic monetary reform. Now, in my, I've been teaching economics and, I've been in the area of economics and finance for the last 40 years. If you ask me what I learned, most in that 40 years is this, that the monetary system, the current monetary system, it needs to be seriously reformed. It is completely, in my opinion, against our Islamic system, such that even if you have, the Islamic banking models, banking system that we are trying to develop, this may not actually bring forth the Islamic economic system that we desire to establish. Yeah, actually, it will take us away from the attainment of the maqasid of Sharia. So therefore, it is very important to address this issue. Yeah? Now, why I got involved in this area is that in 1996 I came back after PhD from University of North Texas to Malaysia. Then I started to teach economics and finance. At that time, the Malaysian economy was, it was just rising. It's growing. Very well. It was doing very well under the leadership of Dr. Mahathir, the Prime Minister at that time. But within 1 year after the 1997, then all kinds of things happened. The currency attack on Malaysian currencies and other currencies. And then after that, it was all history. That brought the conflict between Tun Mahathir, the Prime Minister, and the Deputy Prime Minister. That time was Anwar Ibrahim, who is the current Prime Minister. Yeah. So until today, we have not, got out of this problem actually. So so we like to look at what is the problem with the present system, and then what we can provide as solutions. Yeah, this is what I would like to discuss in this talk. Yeah. So one moment. Okay. So the Bretton Woods, some of you may not know what Bretton Woods here means, Bretton Woods system. After before the World War II and World War I and before that, the global system, monetary system was linked to something like gold. Money was backed by gold, silver, and all both gold and silver and so on. So when it's backed by gold, we say it's a gold standard. If both metals, then this kind of uh, in other words, it's redeemable. The currency, your currency note is redeemable for gold or silver and bimetallism and so forth. Then is called a real backing, gold backed or silver backed currency. That means it must be redeemable, right? So after World War II, a new system was established. America emerged as the victor after World War II. So the system was called Bretton Woods, which is where only the US dollar was backed by gold. The rest of the currencies throughout the world need not back their currencies to gold. The means it's fiat. Fiat means not backed by anything, any commodity or gold, anything. So it's called fiat. So only the Bretton Woods, only the dollar was backed and the rest were fiat. Okay, that made the dollar become the dominant currency and the most preferred currency in the world. That's how it became a world reserve currency, because you can take the dollar to the Federal Reserve and redeem it for gold. But what happened was in 1969, 1970, and so forth, the US, America was involved in the Vietnam War. So they had to print more dollars in order to finance the war without the backing. So other countries realized that, there are more and more dollars in circulation, but the dollars are not all backed by gold. So President de Gaulle of France at the time, he took the dollar reserves, the notes, and requested for, wanted to redeem them for gold. And that's when the gold window was closed. And that ended. In 1971, the Bretton Woods system was ended. So that means the dollar was no longer redeemable for gold since then. So which means from 1971, the entire global system is just fiat. That means you can't take your currency, like your pound in London, for example, go to your central bank and request for gold. In Malaysia too, I can't take my ringgit to my Bank Negara, which is the central bank, and request to be redeemed for gold. Yeah. So all throughout the world, it is just fiat. So fiat means the money is just printed or created out of nothing. Out of nothing. So there are basically, since then, there are two types of the fiat money. One is the dollar notes, coins that we see. These are issued by the central bank, right? But most of the money in the present system that we circulate as money, actually money created by the commercial banks, not by the central bank. Commercial banks create them, they become money when the commercial banks give out loans. So when you go for housing loan or business loan and so forth, sometimes we think the money is actually deposit of someone that is given to you as a loan, business loan or a housing loan and so forth. But in reality, nobody's deposit will get reduced. In reality, the money will be created out of nothing through accounting process only, right? So the money is created out of nothing in accounting process and given to you as a loan. And that loan normally carries a compound interest. Yeah, a compound interest. So, in other words, money is created out of nothing. Most of the money, you can look at the statistics for most countries. About 95% of money is created in this form as loan by commercial banks. Only about 5% or less is created by the central banks as notes and coins. Yeah. So because money is created out of nothing and given to households as consumption loans, to businesses as business loans, and even to governments as public loans and so forth. So the money grows in the system in an exponential manner like this. This is when I used to teach this is the first assignment I used to give my students. They go to the IMF database, they get the data, for a number of years, and then they will plot the amount of money, and over the years, you can see that the money will be always growing exponentially like this, while the real economy, the GDP at a constant price, normally we take the GDP at a constant price to reflect the real economy. So the real economy is the real things that we produce, the number of cars you produce, the tables you produce, whatever the real things we produce. So the real economy grows slightly, exponential like this, but the monetary aggregates grow exponentially like this. So one of the reason, if you notice why, if you know finance, this is if this is present value. Present value is say the loan you take. This is the future value. That means what you will pay back on the loan. So future value is the present value. Then bracket 1 plus the interest rate to the power of n. Right? Now, this is this is the most basic formula you will see in finance. Yeah. So you can see that this is when you put a power of n, it becomes an exponential function. So what you pay back in the future is exponential compared to the present value that you take. So this is why you find the rate line, which is the monetary aggregates, they grow exponentially in almost in any country's data, if you look at it. So you get money is almost equals to debt, because 95% if it's created like that in the form of debt, and that debt will be moved about in the economy as money. And because the money grows exponentially, while the real economy not so much. So the difference will show up in the form of inflation. So inflation is by structure of the system. That's first we need to understand that. Inflation you see in any part of the world is basically by the structure of the monetary system. If the inflation is grows in certain areas, for example, housing area, we call it housing bubble, dot-com bubble, and so forth. Now we have an AI bubble, yeah. So we call bubbles. So bubbles are basically inflation in a particular sector, yeah. Now the other thing is that when money is given, created in the form of loans, it's generally given to the wealthier section of the economy, because the wealthier people, they look more credit worthy. Right? If you are very poor, if you go to the bank, you are not likely to, get a loan successfully. Yeah. So therefore, because the newly created money is given to the wealthier section of the economy, it creates a widening gap. The structure creates a widening gap in income and wealth distribution. The system creates the wealthy become wealthier and wealthier, and the poor become poorer and poorer. Why the poor becomes poorer and poorer? Even though they are not taking any loans, they have to bear the inflation in the system too. You may save money, you have got nothing to do with the banking system, but you will have to, the inflation will also get you. Yeah. So this is a Milton Friedman, the famous monetarist statement. Inflation is always and everywhere a monetary phenomenon. So because sometimes you think inflation is caused by because lack of output, or maybe and things like that. But in reality, most of the time, it is caused by the monetary phenomenon. In the sense that it is and can be produced only by a more rapid increase in the quantity of money than in output. That's what I was saying just now. Yeah. So the quantity of money grows faster than our ability to produce chairs or cars and so forth. So that's why inflation is there. And when there's inflation, it means the cost of living continuously goes up. Cost of living, yeah, by the structure of the system. Now, for those who are, students of economy, you know that this thing is explained through the equation of exchange. The the monetary base of quantity of money in the system, and V is the velocity of money circulation, is equals to the price level in the economy, and this is the Y is the real output, which is the real economy. We just as mentioned, as I mentioned just now, the GDP at constant price. Yeah. So if you increase money, generally we take velocity to be constant. But certain shocks can also increase or decrease the velocity, but generally it's constant. So if you increase the monetary aggregates continuously grow, and the price, if the Y cannot match that, the real output, the price levels must go up. And this equation is called an identity. That means it is true by the structure. It is true by the structure. It's called an identity. So this is the reason why when M grows faster than the Y, the the price levels, it creates bubbles, and also the widening gap between the wealthier and the poorer, and also the cost of living, keeps rising. Now this is the data for Malaysia, to show you. When I started to look at these data before, if this is Y, the price multiplied by the real GDP is the nominal GDP. Price times the real GDP is the nominal GDP. So the nominal GDP, in order to produce, for example, 1 billion worth of nominal GDP, you don't need $1 billion of money. Why? Because there's velocity of money circulation. The same dollar or a pound note or money can be transferred and again to buy multiple things. For example, I buy shoes from you for 10 pounds, for example. So I give you the 10 pound, you give me the shoes. Then you can use the same 10 pound to buy something else from somebody else. That person can use the same 10 pounds to buy some other things from someone else, right? So that's the velocity of money circulation. Velocity of money circulation. So you do not need 1 billion worth of what do you call that? 1 billion, right? There's some disturbance. Can we have that stop, please? Yeah, thank you. So you need less money to produce a certain amount of GDP. Yeah. So in Malaysia, it used to be like that. Now, what I want to show you is, you see, for 2020, that was almost 5 years ago. You can see the M1, which is this is the monetary aggregate, the M1. M0 is the notes and coins plus the demand deposits from the bank, the created through loans. When you add, we call the M1. Yeah. Now M1 in Malaysia is 513. All these are in millions. Yeah. So it's 513 billion, the amount of money. But look at the nominal GDP. The nominal GDP is only 367 billion. So the total amount of money which is supposed to be less than this is already more than the nominal GDP in Malaysia from 2020 already, right? Which means in Malaysia now we can expect serious inflation, hyperinflation. No? No, of course, the government will say the inflation is 2%, 3%, and so forth, but we know in reality it's different. Yeah, actually the price of things are growing very fast in Malaysia. Yeah. So if you look at in percentage form from 2015 to, for example, 2020, the growth of M1 is 9.65%, while the real GDP growth is only 3.58%. The 3.58% is a bit low because during the COVID period, the economy was seriously affected, right? Generally, it will be 5%, 6, 7, in good times, even 8% like that. Yeah. But this is if you compare from 2015 to 2020, look, the monetary aggregate has grown at 9.65%, while the real GDP is only at 3.58%. Yeah, right. So you can see the effect of all this on it. Look at the price of houses in Malaysia. This is an old data. I'm sorry, it is almost 10 years ago. Even 10 years ago in Malaysia, it has already become the housing has become seriously unaffordable, and I can assure you today it's now severely unaffordable. So in other words, the younger generation, our children, when they graduate, when I see them, I feel pity because even housing, which is a basic necessity for living, has become severely unaffordable. The median income, for example, this is 10 years ago, Malaysia is 5,000. This is monthly income, 5,228. So the median price for houses is 188. So this is the affordable price. For this kind of salary, this is the affordable price of home. But the actual price is 300. The median for actual price is 313, right? So a median multiple of 3 is considered as affordable. 3 is affordable. But now it's already 5. Above 5 is considered severely unaffordable. So housing has become severely unaffordable, not only in Malaysia, in many countries. Yeah. Now the second thing is the system also gives loans to households, businesses, and government. Yeah. So this is data. For example, the Malaysia's household debt to GDP ratio surges to new peak of 93.3%. This is our central bank report. This was some time ago also, right? So the household debt also, that means has peaked to a new peak. Yeah. So what all this shows is that means the people are subjected to serious economic conditions, like prices surging. At the same time, you are also faced with high debt levels, household debt, and so forth. And the government debt is 1.2 trillion already. And if you look at Malaysian budget, we don't pay the principal. Always we pay only the interest portion of these loans. And if I ask if I ask you, how long do you think it will take you to pay back 1.2 trillion ringgit? If you pay back 1 million ringgit per day, 1 million ringgit if you pay back every day, which means 365 million is paid off in a year, it will take about more than 3,000 years, just to pay back the principal portion. You see? So because many of us, we do not deal with trillion, right? We do not have, how big is a trillion? Yeah, that's how big a trillion is. If you pay back 1 million per day, it will take you more than 3,000 years to pay back. And I was just putting a calculation. Let's say Malaysian government at the rate of 3.5% interest rate and a debt service of 46 billion per annum, it will still take about 70 years to settle the debt. Yeah, 70 years. All right. Okay, now, as I mentioned, if you look at the countries, if the households, if the businesses, and in the governments, all are increasingly becoming indebted, all are debtors, then who are the creditors of the system? Because in accounting, if you know, for every debtor there must be a creditor, right? So if you look at further into it, it's very easy to see. The debtors are the banking system, to whom we have given the legal right to create money out of nothing and give to people as a loan and charge compound interest on it. So therefore, the best business to be in is a banking, right? But it's haram lah, because it's all based on riba. So if you look deeper into it, not only interest is riba, but creation of money out of nothing, it is actually also riba. Yeah. So in such a system, you will see that when the money growth is faster than the real economy, it creates many problems in the economy. Because I just mentioned to you inflation, income and wealth gap, rising cost of living, and so forth. It also causes unaffordable homes, and also it has effect on agriculture. Agriculture will become not what do you call that, a lucrative business. The reason is interest rate. If you charge an interest rate of 8%, for example, then the agriculture must also grow. Your produce must grow at 8% just to pay back the interest, isn't it? But agriculture, it doesn't grow like that. So that's why in many countries they have agriculture banks to give loans at a lower rate to farmers and so forth. But still all are failing. Yeah. So, and then in society, it creates crime and insecurity, because when you create, inflation continuously, some sector of the economy, they'll become very poor, right? And when there's poverty, it creates all kinds of social problems like crime and so forth. Yeah. And also it creates environmental problems, pollutions, destruction to ecosystems, climate change, and so forth. This one, I can talk about completely a different topic, how the monetary system creates all this. Yeah. And also the politics, conflicts as you see today, many of us, we do not know even the conflict in Palestine, in 1992-93, during the Oslo Accord, when they signed the so-called peace treaty, the Oslo Accord. One of the conditions is that the Palestinian territories must use the Israeli shekel, which is fiat, as the currency. In other words, as the legal tender. You see, so once you accept a condition like this, you have already signed your defeat, because if you create your olive oil and things like that, you produce all kinds of things. You do, so much of labor you put in, and you come up with your produce. They only create the money out of nothing and then take it away from you by giving it to you, right? It can be pieces of paper, or it can be just an electronic record as money transferred to your account, but all your real work, hard work, is given to the other side. So the other day I was looking at the price of things in Gaza, you know, in Malaysia, if I were to give 1,000 ringgit as a donation, in pounds, it's about 200 pounds. You give 200 pounds as a donation, you know what the Gazans can buy? Just 2 kilograms of flour and 1 kilogram of sugar. 2 packets of flour and 1 packet of sugar. The reason is because it is the legal tender there, the moment the money goes there, it has to be converted into shekel. And the money changes there, they charge about 40% commission on that. So you only get back 60% of the money. 40% is the commission. And the price also, the traders, they also link to, the Israeli, this thing, of the, food items, things like that cannot enter from all the borders. It has to come from, from the allowed channels, yeah? And they charge such an exorbitant price. Such an exorbitant price. I couldn't believe that one packet of sugar is about 500 ringgit, which is about 100 pound, in the recent conflict. I thought this is so you can see how fiat money can be used for manipulating um, people, and yeah, and it creates all kinds of problems. Today, I would like to also discuss the shrinking population caused by this monetary system. If you notice in England or in entire Europe, America, you look at Japan, Korea, populations are shrinking. Malaysia, from last year, the population has started to shrink. The reason is, I'll tell you why it is the monetary system, right? Okay, we'll come to that. So all this you can see, when in 20 years ago I mentioned, if this is the effect of the structure of the monetary system, because we remove the link of money to gold or real things, what happens is that you're sure to see sustainability issues. This was we mentioned 20 years ago, and accordingly, correctly, the United Nations and others came up with the sustainable development goals. Okay, we want zero poverty, we want zero hunger, we want good health and everything. But I can tell you, all this, you can't really achieve them effectively under the present monetary system. Under the present monetary system, you may solve one problem here, or you may solve one problem there, and you'll be happy, oh, I'm solving the problem. But when you look at the overall, you will see that actually the problem has grown bigger. The problem is going bigger. Only in one section, in one sector here and there, you are solving it. So this is the sustainable development goals. In my opinion, until we address the monetary issue here, these are not solvable. Okay. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu la ta'kulu amwalakum bainakum bil batil illa an takuna tijaratan an taradim minkum wa la taqtulu anfusakum innallaha kana bikum rahima. Basically, in An-Nisa 29. Basically, the meaning is, O believers, do not devour one another's wealth illegally. And that includes this ribawi way of transactions, but rather trade by mutual hand. And do not kill each other or yourselves. Surely Allah is for you. Of course, in another verse, وَحَلَّاللَّهُ بَيْعًا وَحَرَّمَ الرِّبَا. Similarly to this one. So it is telling trade. One day, if you like to have a discussion on what is trade profit, trade gives profit and riba is interest. People thought both are equal, similar, but Allah says no. Allah halallahu baya wa harrama riba. So one day we can discuss that. What is the real difference between profit and riba? Yeah. But anyway, so this is related to this. So in order to actually attain the, the sustainable goals, development goals, I believe that two things are important. One is real money systems must be reinstituted. That means money must be back to gold, silver, or anything that is real. Okay, commodity backed money. Yeah, you need to first re-establish this back. And the second thing is also important from the perspective of Islam economic system, the development of spirituality and character. The development. In other words, the importance of focusing on adab and ilm from preschool education. Because I noticed, I've been studying the education system also. Even in religious schools today, there are a lot of problems. Even in Malaysia also, the character of the students in religious schools also are questionable. But if you go to Japan, this thing, well, you don't find even children, school children killing another person or bullying. You don't see that, right? So why in Japan you don't see that kind of thing? Because you notice they focus on character building in early years. What is missing in Japanese education is tawhid. So if you put tawhid in the education system, that will become the best Islamic education system, right? But in our system, somehow we have removed the adab, the education of adab in this thing. So recently also in Malaysia, there was in a religious school, there was a murder, So some students bullied and murdered the poor girl. Anyway, now this book is by a person called Bernard Leiter. Bernard Leiter was formerly a central banker from Belgium. Huh? He did a lot of studies on money and things like that. Finally, he concluded that money is the missing link to sustainability. So as I mentioned to you, I also agree with him. Money is the missing link to sustainability. Yeah. All right. Now let me show you a little bit of Malaysia. This is the Malaysian, old Malaysia. What happened in Malaysia? See, in Malaysia, this is trade taking place in old Malaysia, trade taking place by the seashore. So there's an Arab trader, this is a Javanese Malay trader, this is a Japanese trader, yeah? I mean, no, Chinese trader. So they all, exchanging things by the evening. At that time, these were the coins that were used, gold coins, silver coins, and so forth. Trade. You see, this is in Malaysia, we call it ringgit, isn't it? We use this is the actual ringgit. The actual ringgit is a 20 gram pure silver coin. And this is one of the gold coins that used to circulate. We call it gold kupang. And this is called a deer, a small deer. It's called kijang. And this is the logo of our Central Bank of Malaysia today, the logo, yeah? While the gold has been removed, now it's all fiat. The central bank is only promoting fiat, yeah? So this is the real money in Malaysia. But in 1860, when we were colonized by the British, they introduced banks from Hong Kong because they were also ruling Hong Kong at the time. So they brought and they basically kind of replaced this real money with paper money. So the bank started to print pieces of paper as a ringgit and not redeemable for gold. While the Bretton Woods was 1971, in Malaysia, we actually started gradually, we were moving towards fiat money since 1860. Yeah, 1860. And Muslims of that time, the traders, before that, the traders, who were dominating, the traders who were dominating international trade were the Arabs from Yemen, the Yemenis, the Al Junaid, the Al Attas, and so forth, and the Indian Muslim traders. They are called routers and niners. Yeah. So I was one of those, the Indian Muslim descendants of the Indian Muslim traders who ended in Malaysia. Yeah. So once, those traders, the Arab traders and the Indian Muslim traders, they didn't want to go and what do you call the borrow money. In fact, many of them, when I asked them and when I interviewed them, many of them didn't even know that they could actually borrow money from the banks. But of course, in my opinion, they were lucky, because if you borrow, then you'll have to borrow with a compound interest also, yeah. But the monetary system at the very damaging effect on the Muslim traders. Because these people are just printing money out of nothing, and they can even buy all the things that you have, the lands and so forth, every land, buildings, things like that, they can just buy by just printing the money. To give you an example, this is one of the notes that were issued during that time. This is George, King George the Fifth, yeah. It says $10,000 in Malay. Jawi is written there, 10,000 ringgit, which means 10,000 ringgit. So they use the word dollars and ringgit interchangeably. The 10,000 ringgit, the purchasing power of this note is equal to 10 million ringgit of today. The purchasing power. At that time, you could have a meal for just 1 cent. Even the coins will be written the 1 cent, half cent, quarter cent, like that at that time. Yeah. Today, a meal is about 10 ringgit. You want to have this thing, yeah? So the purchasing power of 10 million ringgit, can you imagine? With just you print one piece of paper, you can just give it to somebody and get acres of land. You can purchase, you can just transfer. So this is how the Malay traders, the Muslims, and the Malays were defeated in this system, yeah? So until today, that's why the Muslims and Malays are not in control of the economy in Malaysia. I would put this as the main reason, because you put them 100 years ahead, in the non-Muslims, yeah, 100 years ahead in this system, and the Malays and Muslims, they came in only in 1970s when they started to have a bank account, yeah. So now I would like to discuss one important issue on sustainability, because a lot of discussion is being, research and discussion is going on sustainability. As I mentioned to you, the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, right? But one thing that is rarely being discussed is the sustainable human population. No one is discussing. I would like to, why the populations are shrinking, why it is important to address this, and why this is really something very serious, the shrinking population. The reason is, you see, you all might have known Mr. Lee Kuan Yew, the former Prime Minister of Singapore. He was responsible for developing Singapore to where it is, yeah. In his book, if I'm not mistaken, two of his books, he mentioned this. Is there a country in this world that prospers on a declining population? If I had to identify one issue that threatens the Singapore survival the most, it would be this one. I cannot solve the problem and I have given up. They tried all kinds of means, giving, maternity leaves for 2 years and all kinds of, benefits for those who get more children, and still he could not solve the problem. So I have given up the job to another generation of leaders. Hopefully they or their successors will eventually find a way out, right? And he said, Singapore will fold up if its citizens do not procreate, right? And then Mr. Elon Musk, if you go to to YouTube, just put Elon Musk on population collapse and so forth, you can listen to him also. He also says this is actually is a serious problem. Why is a serious problem? I'll come to that in a moment, because the reason is it will create an aging society. That means the more and more people, percentage of old people in your economy. Then you will face a shortage of labor force in every economic sector. A shortage of labor force, right? In historical times, if a majority of your people are old, people will invade your country and take over the resources of your nation and the leadership. And that's actually is happening. We do not see it, If your nation is facing this problem, slowly you will see through migration and so forth, this is what will happen. You will be replaced by others. But because this system is kind of a global system or universal system, the fiat money system, almost every nation is facing it, except those countries where the number of unbanked people who are not linked to the banking system, is still large in number. That is in Indonesia. You can see that in India. You can see that in Bangladesh, Africa. So these are the countries you still see a large number of youngsters and people are having large number of children and so forth. The rest of the world is shrinking. Okay. So the the demographic experts, they tell us the average number of children per woman should be 2.11. That means during her childbearing years, she should, on average, there should be 2.11 children or child per woman. That means your population will be stable. Higher than 2.11, your population will rise. Below 2.11, your population will start to shrink, right? And they tell if your fertility rate is 1.3, then it's said to be irreversible. You can't reverse it because it will take about 80 years to reverse or try to increase this number. So the 2.11, you should never let it fall until 1.3. Then you will not be. That means you can only rely on immigrants to support your labor force. So a healthy distribution of population will look like this. This is for Nigeria, Africa, for example. The blue lines are male, the pink lines are female. So this is the bottom are the babies and young children. So as you go up, the number of children, people become smaller and smaller because the people die, right? So at the top, at the age of 85, 90, this one. So this is a pyramid. So this is a healthy pyramid. You have a large number of children and small number of very elderly people. But as you face this age problem, a shrinking population, it will go like this. This is Japan, for example, 1950s. Okay, it's a healthy pyramid. 2005, you can see it's like wobbling already. It's like a kite. And by 2055, it will be an inverted triangle. So this is already a serious problem. Yeah, it's moving to this direction. That means there are very few children, but more elderly people. Yeah. So this is a serious problem. So if you look at in like 1960s, the world had about fertility rate about 5. That means a woman will have about on average 5 children. Arab world is almost 7. Yeah, almost 7. Heavily indebted poor countries 6.7. Why? They are not linked to the banking system, so you can see large number of Southeast Asia, like where I come from, we are about 6. Like my parents, we had about 7, 7 children. But now, 2025, the world average is only 2.24, very close to the 2.11 already. Arab world is still surviving, 3.1. European Union is 1.4. This is serious, close to 1.3 already, right? And so forth, all are falling. You can see even Southeast Asia is only 2.18 now. Can you believe that? Southeast Asia from 6, which means why? Because seriously creating fiat money out of nothing, right? So these are for selected countries. For Malaysia, it's now 1.53. Very scary, from 6.4 from 1960 to 1.53 only. Look at Japan, 1.23. Right? It's already below 1.3 already. So they have to rely on immigrants. China is 1.02 because of this China problem is because of their one-child policy. Now only they are opening to 2, but still it's very low. South Korea is only 0.75. The South Korean government had organized the last time the economic society specifically to address this issue. I went there and then I presented with their data, with their money to show the problem lies in the monetary system. We need to address this, and Thailand and so forth. So what happens is why this is happening, because one is the fiat monetary system is causing rising cost of living, cost of rearing children, the retirement cost. When you retire, your savings are not enough even, for you to take you through the rest of your retirement period. In Malaysia, it only takes 5 years and people will be, their retirement money will be exhausted, right? So there's a rising price of homes. size of homes are becoming smaller and smaller, longer and longer duration for mortgage, and not only that, people, businesses, everyone are becoming indebted, while rising. So all these are causing people to decide to have lesser and lesser children because it is costly, and you may want to have you may have a better savings for your retirement age if you have lesser children today and so forth. In Korea, in Japan, even the youngsters, many of them, they do not even want to get married. They do not want, it's creating all kinds of problem over there. So the statement I'm making is financial inclusion and the interest-based fiat money system of today is deadly for societies because over long run, most people are likely to become net borrowers who are thereafter faced with the trade-off between having children and having a good life or retire comfortably. So the moment you are linked to the financial system, and it will become like under the fiat monetary system, because financial inclusion is important. It's very important actually for inclusive growth, economic growth. But under the fiat monetary system, it looks deadly. Yeah. So you see, this is a study by Rainer Strack from Germany. He showed that by 2030, most countries in the world will face shortage of labor. You can see why, isn't it? Shrinking population. There will be shortage of labor in almost all countries in the world by 2030, which is only 5 years away, right? Look at this. This is a hotel in Japan, Henna Hotel in Japan, where it is 100% manned by robots. You see, the receptionist is a dinosaur and so forth. Some muscular looking robots will carry your bag to your room and so forth. 100%. But what you see, and also you can see that even restaurants and so forth. Yeah. So aging society is predominantly a systemic structural problem created by the very structure of our modern monetary system itself. Yeah. So it is. So we need to address. So the flawed system that we talked about is the central banking system of today is flawed. This is what Alan Greenspan said. You all know Alan Greenspan, huh? He was the chairman of Federal Reserve for many years. So Greenspan admitted in testimony to the Congressional Committee on 23rd October 2008 that there had been a flaw in his governing ideology. But not many people ask what flaw was he talking about. So I had been going on for 40 years with considerable evidence that it was working very well. The whole intellectual edifice, however, collapsed in the summer of last year. You see, everything the intellectual edifice for the monetary system collapsed. Is it? So if you ask me what is the fundamental flaw, actually we do not have a measure of value, a stable measure of value. You see, when you have, when we say this is a meter, for example, a meter, the meter in America, meter in Malaysia, meter in London, all must be equal in length because it's a standard measure for length. Same as if a kilogram in China, kilogram in Malaysia, kilogram in UK must be the same. So we can talk about some, trade in kilograms, meters, and so forth. Money is the measure of value. It must be a standard. But today, currency, Malaysian ringgit, pound, all are being traded in the currency market where the relationship constantly moving, Imagine this was a ringgit, the value of a ringgit now. Suddenly the value of ringgit goes to a short like this, fall. So there is no stable measure of value in the present monetary system globally. Yeah. So therefore, the fiat money system does not conform to the labor theory of value. This is the main issue. Yeah. Okay. Now, Imam Al-Ghazali also mentioned in Ihya Ulumuddin, God Almighty created gold and silver to serve as a measure of value and to facilitate exchange of goods and things. You see? See how smart the intelligent our scholars were. They didn't say, I used to ask why the Imam didn't say Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created gold and silver as money. No. It's actually as a measure of value. Because you don't need money for every economic transaction. Because we can always do barter trade and things like that. right? But you need something to value all this. Even in barter trade, we need something that is standard to measure the value. That is missing in the present system. Yeah. So what is the problem and what we need to solve is this. Remember, I showed you the growth of money, monetary base is exponential, and this is the growth of real economy, right? So we need to make the growth of money parallel to the growth of real economy. How do we do that? We need two things. One is you need to adopt a real measure of value. That means you need to have something that is real to become a unit for measure of value. So gold, silver, a commodity that has that can be standardized. For example, a certain rice, a certain anything, oil, petroleum. So there are characteristics of a commodity that can play a role of money. For example, they have intrinsic value. It is divisible. It's homogeneous. It is mobile. We can take them here and there. And that kind of thing. So once they fulfill about 5 or 7 criteria there, then that commodity can play the role of money, right? But gold and silver will normally dominate because this metal like gold, it lasts for ages. If you drop a kilogram of gold into sea, after 1,000 years, if you take out, it will be still in the form of gold. It will not have rusted. It will not have this thing and so on. So that is the reason why gold, being rare, and then it doesn't react with almost any element in the chemical elements. So that's why it plays the role of money the best. Yeah. So we need to link back money to gold and then abolish interest charges. So there are two things I will say in riba involved in the present system. One is riba in the interest charges. The other one is riba in the fiat, right? But riba in the fiat seems to be, to me, it is a bigger problem than the interest charges because riba in the fiat is causing serious sustainability problems until even the population of human beings cannot be sustained. You see that? So this is but we as Muslims, we need to correct both this, yeah, in a present system. So long we have these two in our monetary system, there's no point talking about Islamic economic system. You will never see a true Islamic economic system being established when the sustainability issues are, affected by this. You will never see them. So that's why I've been talking about Islamic learning, a student of Islamic economics, and now a teacher of Islamic economics and monetary system. We can only talk about Islamic economic system in the classroom. There is none out there. There's none out there, right? But solving this is easier said than done. There's a global system that wants to preserve this because it gives them so much of power. For example, when the dollar is the dominant reserve currency, so when they create the dollar out of nothing, they can buy the gold from Indonesia, they can buy oil from Saudi Arabia and so on, all out of nothing. So that is a very powerful position. They don't want to lose it. But the BRICS have formed, and now they're giving a challenge to that. So you and me can't give challenge. Even Malaysia cannot challenge. In early 2000, Tun Mahathir, the Prime Minister, wanted our international trade to be settled in gold. But we got a warning from the international powers. I'm sure you know from whom, yeah? So the Prime Minister backed off. So it's easier said than done. But the BRICS as a collective group of countries now is giving the challenge. Now the BRICS is putting 40% of the BRICS currency will be backed by gold. So movement to gold is a good direction, even if it's only 40% in the beginning, until it's 100%. Yeah. So you take in stages, because if you try to solve it abruptly 100%, also it will give problems. Yeah. So the solution from Islamic perspective, two things. One is the real money concept must be in. That's the reason why gold and silver is the monetary standard in Sharia. Many people, Sharia scholars, they cannot understand this until today. They are all supporting the Islamic banking with the fiat monetary system. Yeah. Then the second thing is we need to go towards risk sharing principles. When you borrow money with the current system using interest charges, that's risk free. Interest charges are called risk free in finance, right? Because whatever happens to you, you got to pay back the money plus the interest. This thing. So that's risk free. So we need to establish risk-sharing principles in our muamalah, right? Which is basically the second one. One is these are the two riba components existing in our monetary system that's causing all those things. Okay, so I think the rest is basically countries are moving towards gold and the kind of thing. The Russia, Russia fixed the, if you remember in March 2022, Russia fixed the gold price. In other words, it's a ruble to gold, 1 gram of gold, and that's how they became, strengthened themselves during the Ukrainian war. When they put sanctions on Russia. In year 2003, realizing this, I did a conference. That is 22 years ago, yeah. I did a conference, and this conference was paid by our central bank. I organized this, that goal in international trade. And models were given, everything were given, but then we got the warning not to implement, yeah. Then Malaysia's Tun Mahathir proposed common East Asia currency pegged by gold. This was recently 2019 when he became the prime minister for the second time. He was still pushing towards goal. Yeah. So there are a lot of initiatives coming. For example, e-wallets, gold-backed e-wallets, cryptocurrencies backed by gold and things like that. So these are all good developments. So long whatever we are transacting is backed by gold or anything that's real. We can even come up with a currency backed by palm oil, for example. The reason why I'm saying this because Japan once did ask Malaysia to establish monetized palm oil. We can do that, palm oil, as good as even linking as to gold and so forth. Now, I would like to end my talk with this. Robert Alexander Mandel, the Nobel laureate, he mentioned that gold will make a comeback in the international monetary system in the 21st century. He was so foresighted that he said that in 1999. Yeah. And then even in 2021, which is just 4 years ago, it came out in Forbes, Professor Mandel urges gold convertibility for the euro, the currency which he fathered, as well as for the dollar. So he realized ultimately, even for euro and all currencies, we need to go back to gold. So, my dear, thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Brother Omar, back to you.
Thank you so much, Professor Kameel. I wasn't expecting to end my night depressed. But
no, never. You're depressed, don't be depressed. Always must, this thing, optimistic.
Absolutely. No, look,
the reason is why you have to be optimistic. Everything that's happening in this world, it is actually by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's in complete control. Okay. It is designed to be like that. But he is giving you and me an opportunity to do something. Look at it that way.
Absolutely. There are some very, very talented people on this call, by the way, many of whom are young and very bright. And I think, I was just discussing with one of the people who are on the study group for the book 13 of the Ihya that I want to bring together a group of us who work together and we want to start looking into some of these issues. We have the talent to do it. We have the resources. In fact, I was speaking to Omer, who's on this call, who's in the UK. I said, we have the talent, we have the resources, we have the money, we have the intellect, we have the education. So it's about time that we started to work together to take action on these. Really appreciate your time. It was a fantastic talk and overview of the current system and the solutions that are already found within our faith. It was a real eye opener, and I think educational for many of us here. So thank you so much for that. We're going to take some questions.
But Omar, before we take the questions, I like to, I've given this kind of talk many times, but the solutions. I have one solution that I like to have a special session with you all, something called netting system, or in Arabic we call mukassa. It is a very powerful. I would like to discuss with you two things. One is what is the true difference between profit and interest. We can come another day, and a solution for all this based on netting. Yeah. So just take note on maybe Dr. Adi. We may have to talk on the discussion specifically on the netting one day. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that would be a great next session. Thank you so much again. Let's take some questions.
Yeah, I'd like to start first.
Please,
Omar?
yes, please
Yeah,
do.
yes, thank you, Prof. Kameel, for your fantastic talk. I mean, it's short, but it's very dense.
Yeah,
Very like. Which means that I mean, can be flashed out into a series of like courses, right?
Yeah.
Like some of you, okay, you mentioned with one, you want to have like special talk or course on the netting.
Yeah.
If
you say so, Dr. Adi, if if you want to break it into this, I used to teach in the International Islamic University one semester entirely on money. Every topic, and then discuss many issues. We can do that if you are interested. Yeah.
All right. So that one semester, how many hours of teaching did that include?
That used to be 12 weeks of courses. That means every week. That means there'll be 12 different subjects to talk about, and then normally 2 weeks of students they'll make their presentations and their research here.
So 12 12 meetings or 12 classes.
Yes,
12.
correct.
And one class is 2 hours or is 1 hour?
It's actually 3 hours.
Oh, all right. And well,
But we can
shorten
it like 2 hours. Yeah, I can shorten it. But in my opinion, the 12 lectures discussions are important to understand the entire thing. So we discuss even cryptocurrencies, what are cryptocurrencies from Islamic perspective, that will be one, And then, for example, complementary currencies throughout the world, there are many types of complementary currencies. How do they,
okay. I think inshallah I'll be coming to KL and then I'm going to meet you. And then you mentioned the netting, and then the second thing you wanted to talk about was what? The first thing was the netting.
The difference is wahalallahu bay'an wa harrama riba.
Oh, I see.
The profit in trade, you get profit.
Right.
In this thing, lending this thing, there's riba, the interest. But what is the actual difference between them? What is the in economics perspective? What is it? What are they?
Oh yeah, okay. That's important because important to get into the economic differentiation between gain through proper profit or to trade and gain through usury. Different type of gain. One is a parasitic and one is like win-win, right? So yeah, sure.
Correct. Because Allah SWT says in the Quran, the Mushrikeen on those days, they say the trade is similar to riba.
Yeah.
They say it's similar, isn't it? So we can discuss among ourselves, what is the true differences among the different. We may not be able to get everything, At least we know, wait, these are some of the differences, you see.
That's still the difference, but yeah, because it's quite clear. All right. Okay. I just want one question, and then we'll open the floor to the audience. Because this talk is for them, not for me. I can meet you anytime. But so you mentioned that that money to be money must be a stable measure of value. I mean, yeah. So measure of value to be any measure to be a measure that measure must be intrinsically stable.
Correct. Yes.
Right. And can you because the thing is that
elaborate
the
on
measure
that?
and then whatever that constitute or whatever that serves as a measure, that thing that serves as a measure must be intrinsically stable. Right? Yeah, please elaborate on that point. Yeah.
Okay. So for example, you see, look at like 1 dinar, yeah? The dinar, right? The dinar is 4.25 grams of pure gold. So as you can notice in the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, the Prophet giving, for example, to the Sahaba 1 dinar and asking them to buy a lamb for sacrifice for Qurban. So then, You see, at that time, 1,400 years ago, one dinar coin can buy you a sheep. Today also, if you have one dinar, if you convert it into pound, or you convert it into ringgit, or you convert it into any other currency, you can buy your land.
Yeah.
Right? So that's the thing. It will preserve its purchasing power because it is a stable. So someone who had this thing, who sold a sheep, he worked, he sold a sheep and saved that one dinar. 1,400 years later, he can convert it back to the land. You
Yeah,
get
yes.
that?
So, yeah,
So
so,
how it
yeah,
maintains its value. But look at the ringgit. When I was small, I remember I always like to give this the roti prata, roti canai. In Malaysia or in 50 years ago, when I was a young kid, it was only 10 cents. 10 cents
right.
one canai. So one ringgit can buy you 10 roti canai. But just 50 years later, you can't even buy one roti canai using your one ringgit.
Okay, so so from this explanation about measure must be something that intrinsically stable, then we can come to a general theory of
Yeah.
measure,
Yeah.
whether measure of distance, a measure of weight or mass,
Yeah.
or measure of economic value in the case
Correct.
of money. So like measure of distance, the length or the volume, or in this case, relative economic values of the different goods. So whatever that serves as a measure of anything, that measure must be something that is intrinsically stable,
Stable.
right? All right.
Correct.
All right.
Correct.
Okay, please, please, Omar. Oh,
So
sorry,
just for
Chair.
your, there's one work by Professor Roy Jastram from University of California, Berkeley.
Yeah.
He wrote a book of the Golden Constant. You can Google the Golden Constant. Maybe you can even download it for free. Golden Constant. So he used about 500 years of data, this thing. And then he priced things relative to gold, commodities and things. He found it to be a constant.
Yes.
So not only this thing, the Professor example I gave you. And there was one thesis that I was an examiner. This person from also from England, he had data for 2,000 years.
MashaAllah.
2,000 years in America, in England, and also in the Caliphate. And then he priced things both in gold and silver. And he also found the same thing like Professor Roy Jastram. It's a constant.
Yes.
That's
All
why
right.
the money maintenance is value. So you can Google the golden constant. Yeah, thanks. By Roy
Okay.
Jastram.
Okay. Please, Omar, open the floor to
Yeah, just
for the student.
very quickly before I open the floor. Just for those who don't know, Dr. Adi and I are starting a new study group in January. So we've just had a cohort finish, many of whom are here. We have Gulshan, we have Omer, we have Sanjida, Zaid, and Mohammed Razif, and maybe one or two others. We study the book Ihya Ulumuddin, book 13 by Imam Ghazali. The feedback was really positive. I mean, Omer, I'm sure, can speak about it, Gulshan, Sanjida. And we're starting our second book, Kitab al-Kasb by Imam Muhammad al-Shaybani, which is the earliest book on this topic of Islam and economics, business. So anybody who actually is aspiring to become an entrepreneur or is a current business person, and you want to understand how to inject spirituality and some of the themes that we've been talking about today with Professor Kameel, and contextualize these studies into today's world, then you've got no one better than Dr. Adi to share with you over a course of a month all of these insights. So I've massively benefited from these studies, and many have. Just very quickly, either Omer, Gulshan, Sanjida, or Mohammed, if you want to just share just in 10 seconds, just your experience, and then we'll move on to questions. If any of you would like to just quickly share how you feel it went. I'll nominate if someone doesn't unmute themselves, I'll nominate one of you.
I can go quickly, just 10 seconds.
Yep.
Jazakallah khair. First of all, Ustad Ahmed, Meera, Jazakallah khair. That was an amazing presentation. I look forward to also seeing the recording of it again. Having said that, now regarding the little book club that we have, I invite everyone to join us, please. Islamically, scholars in the past, they used to sit down with their students and they used to read together because there's suhbah in it, there's barakah in it. It invites the angels. Really, like you'll learn a lot. I've learned a lot from Dr. Adi, from Omar, Brother Omar, and everyone else. So please, even I would say whether you're interested in business or you're not, I mean, you do muamala, you transact every day of your life, right? There's every other day, so it will benefit you definitely. Yeah.
Really appreciate that, Gulshan. Thank you so much. We won't take any more of your time on that, but we'll move on to questions. We'll start with Moeed. Moeed, it's good to see you here. Yeah, there we go.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Jazakumullah khair, Dr. Ahmed. Really appreciate the talk. I just wanted to see, I remember in one of my group chats, one of the brothers mentioned something about something called an Islamic finance concept, which is called musharaka. Probably something you are aware of. From what I understand, it's one of the core principles which can be applied to not just the fiat system that we have now, but if we were to switch, it allows risk to be shared, which I think is one of the solutions you mentioned, because the risk is shared. It's not, you're borrowing money and regardless of what happens, you still have to pay it back. Can you explain how it would work in the system that you're recommending or suggesting, how we're going to, if we are to, combat the current monetary structure, how musharaka would play its part and how important it is in that system, just so I can understand a bit better.
All right. Thank you very much, brother, for your question. I mentioned the second solution is risk sharing, right? Risk sharing. So from the word sharing, musharaka.
Yeah.
Musharaka is basically sharing in a partnership. From the word sharika. Right. Sharika comes from. So in any business in dealing, if you go in a partnership, that means you both partners got to share the risk of the business, right? So I'll give you one example. I've been working on it because housing is an important issue, and housing, and most of us, our people, we take mortgages based on interest to buy homes, right? So there is I did even the solution, the mathematics for it is called musharaka mutanaqisa. Have you heard about it?
No.
Musharaka mutanaqisa is the diminishing partnership method for owning home. I must tell, even though I studied that, there was an interesting existing model in Canada by Al Ansar Financial Group. Al Ansar, Muslim meaning these brothers, they started this home financing using musharaka method, partnership method. So for example, the cooperative, what will finance, let's say you put 10% for the house, then the cooperative will put 90%. Instead of 90% is as a loan, we co-own the house. 10% you own, we own 90%. And then you occupy the house and you pay rental. So when you pay rental for the house, you actually, the 10% of the rental belongs to you and 90% for us, right? But what we'll do is that the 10% rental that belongs to you is not given to you. It is completely given to us. So every month when you pay your rental, it actually increases your equity in the house because of that. Because what is supposed to be your portion is actually, we are taking it. So it will increase your ownership until you fully own the house. And if you want to own the house faster, you can pay a larger amount of, beyond the rental. So this musharaka mutanaqisa concept, or sometimes some people, it can be also seen as a rent-to-own concept. It involves a musharaka concept rather than interest concept for owning homes. And during bad times, like during the housing crisis and so on in Canada, a lot of people were devastated, but those who had this musharaka concept, they were all okay. So the government itself, the Canadian government itself started to support such a concept. See? So this is what we Muslims must, we must look at, okay, what we can do to help solve the problem. Rather than, so never be depressed, always be positive.
No, I'm not like Sidi Umar right
Yeah,
now.
Omar was like, so no, we are always positive. There is always, it gives you an opportunity to give think and give solution and do something.
Yeah, it's just interesting because if you look at the if we look at the world in general, you have the majority of the world is backed by or is pegged to the dollar, right? So that just by extension means 80-90% of trade in itself is dependent on the dollar, and the US has so much influence on how much of that. Like I was looking at examples of countries that maybe don't align with US interests, and how the US don't really need to physically send an army to invade. Instead, they could just use the financial powers that they have to completely cripple the country, as we've seen.
Yeah. So that's the reason why the West, especially the US, will not let anybody to threaten the dollar, because the American hegemony lies on the dollar, right? But and also we need to understand, if we are not powerful enough to take on like army of the US, then don't try it, because for the interest of the people and the country. See, this is what happened to what do you call the Iraq, because Saddam Hussein wanted to just sell the Iraqi oil in euros. That's all. He just wanted to sell the Iraqi oil in euros, and that threatens the petrodollar arrangement, right? So what they did. And Gaddafi was different. He actually wanted to create a pan-African currency backed by gold, Libya. So you can't challenge this thing. So when the Ukrainian war, kind of people saw that the US doesn't seem to be as powerful as thought to be, then countries gathered and then started the BRICS. Then now they're giving the challenge to the dollar. See that?
Yeah, there was, sorry, just one point as well. There was a British rapper. He's also a philosopher, theologian. He is called Akala. I'm not sure if anybody in the chat, Omar probably knows him. He had a talk on how he said China will reshape the world, and from very early on, he said in the next decade or so they're going to be at the forefront, especially in terms of exactly. He's a British rapper, but historian as well. And he's said how if you look at how the gold reserves, China has been slowly, kind of quietly in the background trying to do its own thing.
Accumulating.
And obviously Russia has done a very similar thing as well. But that's all I had to ask as well.
Yeah, it's true. China is just amazing. In my opinion, they've already surpassed the West already in technology and in this thing. For China, the only threat, the way I see it, is that their population shrinking. They started the one child policy long time ago, and that's having a serious effect on their population. So I see in another 30 to 40 years, it will face serious problem. Even without any war, I think China will be weakened because of that. So I see for the global system, only the Muslims now have the solution. Only Muslims completely we have the solution that we need to provide that. This is and I can tell you many non-Muslims will agree to you that this is the way to go. They actually say it already.
Yeah, actually, my scholars, my teachers that I sit with, they say that sign of the times is that the borders that have been created between each country, in terms of modern day, they need to be removed, because there's no way forward if every country is nationalist and considering only its own interests.
Thank you so much, Moeed, for the questions and great thoughts, and Professor Kameel for the sharing that. Hiding in our midst is a giant among our times.
Okay.
Professor Asad Zaman, who I wanted to introduce to everybody, and to Professor Kameel. Professor Asad actually we were honored to have him share a session with us a few weeks back.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, Professor Asad is one of the leading Muslim economists in the world today, and professor at Ahamed, with a PhD from Stanford in economics. So everyone, please check out Dr. Asad's work as well, his books, his papers, and you can also find his talk that he shared a few weeks ago on YouTube. I can share that with everyone later. So I wanted to say salam to him as well. And Professor Asad, if you have any...
Assalamu alaikum, Prof.
If you have any
questions. Wa alaikum assalam.
Nice to see you, Prof.
My video camera is not functioning, so you can hear me but cannot see me. Let me say just one thing, although I have many questions, but I don't want to take up undue time. One thing is that China, over the past 30 years, they have had a growth rate of 10 to 12%.
Amazing, yes.
And they have lifted the largest number of people out of poverty in the past.
Correct. Yes.
And they have done all this on a fiat currency.
Correct.
So this means that maybe that's not the central problem, in the sense that if they can do it, we can also achieve major economic reforms without switching to gold.
Interesting question. May I answer that, Prof?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Prof, if you look at the barter economy, you'll find in barter economy very difficult for transactions to take place because of the double coincidence of ones, and also the divisibility problems, right? But the moment you introduce money, whatever you call money, then you'll see a vibrant economic activity will take place. It can be fiat, it can be real money, but the moment money comes in and solves the barter problems and brings people the economic inclusiveness, then you'll see vibrancy. But once the system is grows and then is based on debt, the money is based on debt, then once it reaches the saturation point, it all afterwards is just downward trend. And when what will happen is that when the money is based on debt, then the system will see some people will be extremely rich, while the majority is slowly becoming poorer and poorer, the gap. So you can see in the global system, only about 8 billionaires own more than half the wealth of the world today. You see? So such a thing will start to take place at a later stage. Initially, you will see a vibrant economic growth and that and this. And China is already beginning to face that. It's already beginning to face that. So two things. One is what it will face is the shrinking population. The second one is the widening gap. The moment your system is based on fiat money, this is the dynamic of it. But one advantage, Prof, China is that the major banks in China are actually owned by the government. Sovereign money. Government owns the major banks. That's one benefit it has compared to other nations. In Malaysia, for example, the commercial banks are mostly privately owned banks. That means it is traded in the stock market. The ownerships are, basically the people and so on. So you will see a different effect. You see? So you're right, Prof. It's all because when people were unbanked initially, a lot of poverty, poor people, and then you bring them into financial inclusiveness, you see a vibrant growth. But once the debt keeps growing, and the next generation, they start their health problem from an early age, then you will see they do not even want to have children, lesser and lesser number of children, as you see in most countries. Look at Japan, Prof.
I would like to respond to that.
Yeah.
So please. What your analysis suggests, and this agrees with mine, is that problem is not gold, the problem is debt. And the debt is created by money creation, where unbacked, and this debt leads to the private financiers getting all of the money because they're making it for zero, and everybody else being heavily in debt. And there's a
Correct.
very simple solution to this: just nationalize the banks. And
Yes.
that can be done because yani, the issue is money creation by banks. And so
Correct.
if you nationalize the banks, then the money creation comes under state control automatically.
Yeah.
And that will
Actually,
solve the problem that you're suggesting. And that also corresponds with what you said, that China has been able to grow because the government owns the banks
correct.
for the most part, although they are now starting to
Yes.
allow
But
some private.
But Prof, still later, even though the government owns this thing, when the loans the government gives out the money in the form of loans, later the issue will be there. You'll still face the problem. There will be two problems. One is it will be just delayed in effect because the government is basically sovereign money concept, a public banking concept. So the problem is later, for example, China has all what do you call that, banks, I mean, fully owned by the government. Let's say Malaysia also same. The issue is the exchange, when the exchange rates will come, people will start to play the exchange rate. This is fiat, this is also fiat. So entirely there will be, it is all up to manipulation and perception of people, what is the value of these two. That's why the paper currency system is highly manipulated in the present inning. But if you link the money to gold, then there's only one exchange rate. There will be only one exchange rate the moment you link it to gold. So then only become a stable measure of value. You see that, bro? So that is the issue. Our target is a stable measure of value globally. That means it must be a stable measure of value also for international trade, not only for domestic.
Well, I think that the data shows that I put a chart in the chat that shows that the value of gold is not stable. It has been widely varied over the past century or two. If you look at the CPI price in gold, it has ranged enormously, which means that a unit of gold can buy very different amounts of sheeps, not just one. Maybe 1,000 years ago it bought one sheep, and today it buys one sheep. But what happened in the middle is quite a huge amount of variation.
And, Prof, this is what I was mentioning, the study done by Professor Roy Jastram and also others that I mentioned for 2,000 years. So when you say the price fluctuates, Prof, the price fluctuates because we price it in fiat currency. So it is actually not telling its value. It is actually telling the value of the currency that's pricing it.
Well, the data is actually on the CPI. It's the price of a bundle of goods, so not currency.
Yeah, but if you look at it, the real these things like natural commodities like wheat, the flour, the natural things, you will find is generally constant. So the price fluctuation will come because of real reasons, not monetary reason. For example, let's say so much of gold can buy me so much of rice. Then suddenly there's a flood that destroys my, the rice fields in the country. Of course, at that moment, the price of rice will go relative to even gold, right? But in the next season, when seasons are okay, it will come back again. So if you price gold relative to this one, you will see, yes, it will be moving up and down because of real reasons, but generally it will be a horizontal this thing. That's why the price is called a golden constant. So when you price relative to gold with relative to real things that you produce, it is basically is a constant. You see, when in early year 2000, when I did the conference, at that time, 1 gram of gold in Malaysia was 36 ringgit. It's in pound. It's like seven pound with today's exchange rate, 7. At that time, I said the global monetary system doesn't, it's unsustainable. So the price of gold will go up. I said the price of gold will go up, basically telling the story of the dollar because the major currency is the dollar. So if the price of gold goes up, it is actually telling the story of the value of dollar is going down. But it is exchanged with real things. It's actually a constant. All right. So when today it is 1 gram is like 100 pounds. In Malaysian ringgit, it's like 580. More than 100 pounds is 580. So you see, it is basically, to me as an economist, I see, oh, it's telling the story of the dollar. The dollar is this thing. But when my students ask me, is gold a good investment? When they ask me a question like that, I'll tell them because we are still using fiat currency. Yes, it's a goal. It's a good investment, a commodity investment. Those who invested when I told them £7 is now more than £100 already, right? So it's a good investment in that sense. But if you see its value relative to real things, it is a constant. That means it will preserve your savings. It's not going to add value to your savings. See the problem? So this is what this thing I'm trying to do. It's actually
prolong
real.
this discussion. I just want to state that my view that the
Thanks, Prof. Yeah,
gold
thanks.
is an illusion, and that's not going to be the solution. In fact, if we went to the gold standard, it would be a disaster economically.
I will beg to differ.
That's right.
Because when Prophet ﷺ gave us the economic system of he gave us gold and silver as the al-yawma akmaltu lakum dinakum wa atmamtu alaykum nikmati wa raditu lakum al-islam dina. Right? At that moment, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us gold and silver as the monetary standard. Yeah. And I don't think Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us a flawed system. Thank you.
I think the next session will be Dr. Asad and Dr. Kameel debating
Yes.
about, whether gold is whether we should proceed with gold or not.
You see, that's the reason. That's the reason I would like to talk to you about the Mukasa system, the netting. Then you'll realize you actually do not need gold for money for every transaction. We only use gold as a measure of value, as Imam Ghazali mentioned here.
Yeah. So the point is that gold as measure of value, but not necessarily as currency, right? No.
Yes, correct.
Yeah. So I think I'll tell you what, Prof. I'll take you on your word. Maybe in the middle of January, while we are in the next course, I think we would like to invite you to give a special talk on the Mokasa, on the netting, because I think this your netting power kind of answer the concerns of Prof. Asad. So I think that the netting is the
actually, if we use gold as a what do you call that, as a medium of exchange, then I will agree with Professor Asad that it can create a problem. But what we are suggesting is use gold as a measure of value. There's a difference between them.
All right. So inshallah, in mid-January, inshallah, we'll be able to talk about the netting. But I think the netting is the key to your response to Prof. Asad's question.
Correct. Sure. I will explain the whole thing, what can play the role of money and this thing with hadith and so forth. Then I'll show you the netting. Netting in this thing in Sharia is al-Muqassa. You can go and read up the Muqassa. What?
Okay.
Brilliant. Thank you both for those contributions. We have 3 final questions, it looks like. We'll go with Faizan first, and then Gibraltar, and then Bilal.
Assalamu alaikum, Doctor. Sorry, I found out about this program kind of late, so I joined in the last few minutes of this program. I'm in America, so it's early in the morning here. But anyways, you guys already answered one question that I had when you were talking with Dr. Zaman. But it seems like to me, the following question, maybe and now this isn't a question, this is more just like pushing on the discussion a little bit further. The way to find the common ground between both of your points of views is to simply not necessarily just jump immediately to gold, but to start creating programs based on Sharia compliant principles such as Mudaraba based principle of banking. So we could use the principles that's used in banking. Let's say, for example, fractional reserve banking, but instead you also share the profits. You share the profits with the users, and that enriches people that are already partaking in this sort of program. So whereas the banks already have some great programs that but they only keep the profits. But if we simply start sharing the risk and you share the profits, that would ease the burden by reducing debts until we get close enough to the gold standard naturally, right? Because we reduce debt.
Well, if you let me show you the last slide that I didn't show you. The last slide, I just skipped that, but that's quite important. See, I have a movement called Movement for Monetary Justice. Yeah, This is our conclusion. Now we have this is what we see the steps or the progress towards the solution that we are suggesting. One is now we are in the fiat money system, where fiat money is mostly issued by commercial banks, mostly. Yeah. The next thing is, as was what Prof. Asad and also me suggesting, is fiat money issued 100% by the government. So that's what the public banking, so community banking, or what I call sovereign money, or even the modern money theory, MMT, right? In this, so if the money is 100% issued by the bank, then the current commercial banks, they will become mostly essentially like asset managers. They are no longer the money creators. So why we say this is the next step. So if the system got to create fiat money out of nothing, then that money must be publicly owned, not privately owned. Currently, most of the commercial banks are privately owned, which is not right. So there is also CBDC, the central bank digital currency, which is also fiat, will be 100% issued by the government. So this is the movement that is taking place now. But the CBDC is happening basically to counter the development in cryptocurrencies, where cryptocurrencies are mostly privately issued. Yeah. Then the next step we say is 100% digital fiat money. That means there'll be no more paper money and coins. 100% but digital money by governments with netting arrangements. So this has a lot of benefits, because the moment you go 100% digital money, then a lot of things will this thing. For example, fraud and then tax evasions, things like that, very difficult to happen. Every transaction is recorded. And with forensic accounting systems, people can easily find any fraud, embezzlement, and things like that can be detected. Even when you give a sadaqah of $1, you may not know the name of the person, beggar, or whoever, but the system will know from whom to whom the $1 was transferred. You see, right? So, this system will bring a lot of revenue to the government because of that. People can't tax and everything, so it will bring the suspect easily 4 to 5 times what they can earn today. But ultimately, the digital fiat money must be backed by, the money must be backed by gold. It can be cryptocurrencies, it can be this thing, but with netting arrangements. I will discuss with you the netting arrangements in the next talk, yeah? Why the gold is necessary, then only every transaction becomes a fair transaction. And no politician, no government can manipulate the system. Even we say, oh, the sovereign money is, it's all good and this. No, you can look at our politicians of today. That's why I mentioned in one of the things that we need to do in is actually character building. Our education system has not created the right character that even you can't, today our leader to do good to you, actually. I'm sorry to say that, but this is how everyone is focusing on their own self-interest, you see. So the gold-backed money will become neutral. It is not linked to any sovereign government. It is a neutral, politically free money. And you can do international trade without any person manipulating the exchange rate, like what happened to Malaysia and others, during the 1998 East Asian crisis and so forth, you see. And with, so much of wealth is transferred, billions of dollars of wealth was transferred simply by manipulating the game through speculation and arbitrage and money creation techniques. So this is so we are from here, we are just suggesting, yes, the next step is 100% issued by the government. Thank you very much. We just want to go to step 2 now, yeah?
Thank you, Professor. Thank you, Faizan, for the question.
I guess I agree with that prescription that the first step is to move to modern monetary system.
Yes, thanks, bro. This is our movement for monetary justice thing, because we cannot come up with solutions all of a sudden. It will create more problem than solution, isn't it, Prof? Yeah. So we go step by step. Yeah.
So no shock therapy.
Yes, exactly. But the issue is, we do not have much time when I look at it. When I looked at Malaysia, just last year when the population started to shrink, when majority of the people are deciding to have lesser and lesser children, that actually tells you something. That tells you about a serious sustainability problem, actually. Only people like Lee Kuan Yew and Elon Musk, they really see it, and they strongly voice regarding it. But the rest of the we don't see it as something serious. Yeah.
Thank you very much for sharing that. We'll go to Gibraltar next.
Yeah, Jazakumullahu khairan, Brother Umar, and thank you very much, Professor Ahmed.
You're welcome.
Actually, my question was about how can the gold standard be solving the inequality problems, because I think even in the time of Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, we have many poor people, and actually your last slide kind of address that. And so actually I don't have like big questions, but I have a small question. Like in the last slide, I think the government will 100% control the issuance of the fiat money, and won't that be like a governance issue with that, because an individual not individual, what's the word for it? A non-government institution like a central banks, as of now, issuing money, they are more like objective. I think they are not controlled by political maneuvers. But if the government are issuing the money, won't that be like misuse or some kind of political problem?
So your question?
Yeah, so my question is like, how can we make sure of that misuse won't be happening? And how can we make sure of the inequality decreasing with
Okay, I think maybe you got it wrong. The moment you move to gold doesn't mean the inequality will disappear. No, the present system, it is creating inequality at a very fast rate. But when you this thing, or what do you call that, go back to gold, then it becomes what do you call that, question of what do you mean, the real economy. That means everything is real. Money is also real in that economy, right? So it doesn't create artificially, it creates the inequality. So the inequality will be created by, for example, education. If you have a higher education and someone is not educated, the uneducated person will find a difficulty to get into a good economic, the earning power and so forth, isn't it? So the inequality will be there on real reasons rather than created by the monetary reason. So we Muslims, if you want, after going to gold, you want to reduce inequality, then you go for good education for everyone. Then you go for good health for education. So economic, human development is basically we target on education and health, right? So you must target this thing. So, and how do we give education and health for majority of the people out of this thing? If you look at the Islamic, through the Wakaf system. You have to give. You see, when I look at good Islamic education in Malaysia, only the rich can afford. The poor, this thing, they just, they can't afford a good education system, right? So you need to, develop. I always tell my students, instead of developing, focusing on Islamic banking, which is actually not solving the problem, focus on awqaf, that there are different awqaf systems that, if you look at the Islamic history, education, health, and many, social infrastructure were all financed through awqaf. So focus on awqaf, all right? And that will reduce the inequality. Awqaf also provides the social security to everyone. Social security, So, I've been to Istanbul only once, I saw, by the roadside, there are, food for, for stray cats and dogs. Then later you go again, oh, someone has replenished this thing. So I asked them, who is, putting all this food for stray cats and dogs? There's awqaf for that. Can you imagine? Since in those days, then when you look at the kinds of awqaf that existed during the Islamic system, so wonderful. Even there's waqf for people, to go and collect the the kitchen waste and so forth, and they take it and they go to the jungle in one place. They put all the kitchen waste there so that animals can eat. You see? So this is the kind of thing that we need to develop rather than all these, false things of, because I see we do not have much time already. The banking, fiat money, where the banks create money, it is not a solution. The moment you create money out of nothing, you are starting. First, okay, let me tell you, when the moment a bank creates money out of nothing, that means you create purchasing power out of nothing. In real economics, you're actually taking purchasing power from somebody else. Now, from whom are you taking the purchasing power from? Somebody else? If you had savings, when you create money out of nothing and the real things are still the same, the price of things will go up. It will create inflation. So you have savings, your purchasing power of your savings will go down, right? So when the bank actually creates money out of nothing, it actually takes the purchasing power from the rest of the economy by reducing the purchasing power of the existing money. You see that? So it is actually stealing purchasing power from you. So imagine let's say this is a car, I steal the car, and then I sell to you on murabaha basis, all Islamic contract. So it is very nice, it's very Islamically correct, the contract. But I just stole the car, is that right? So Islamic banking system, it steals the purchasing power from the rest of the economy, and it actually gives you on Islamic contract. So that's what you want to do and call it Islamically correct, then, then you go ahead. Yeah.
No, I understood, Professor. Jazakallahu khairan. So the core problem is that we should remove the big problems that neoliberalism are giving us, the massive inequality in our society because of the rich being richer, and
Yeah.
we will work on towards a more equal society with using Islamic tools such as Awqaf.
Yes.
I understand, inshallah. Yeah,
Thanks.
thank you.
Thank you.
That's your point. So you're saying that the rich gets money from the bank to steal the purchasing power of the people with savings.
Yeah, exactly.
So every time the bank issue loans to the rich guys, right?
Yeah.
So basically that kind of like structural stealing of the purchasing power that you have in your savings, right? So
Correct.
actually it's taking, so the bank is taking your savings away to give to the rich.
No, yeah.
Anyway, so
And financing, and then you sign all the murabaha musharaka contracts.
Yeah. And I think it happens with gold too, you said, because when new gold mines are discovered, the price of gold went down somewhat rapidly, and it dilutes the overall ecosystem.
No, it doesn't. If you look at
It doesn't.
Because if you must look at the history of the gold listing. If I'm a gold miner, I won't simply, even if there's a lot of gold there, I won't simply take out the gold that will reduce the value of what I take out. I will only take out as much as it can maintain its purchasing power. That is the rational. If you are a rational businessman, right? When you mine gold, you will not mine everything until this thing. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put the gold in a minute this thing. Even to find a nugget is red. You know that? You see throughout this thing, such that you will find the annual growth of gold mining, it is only like 2.5% per annum. And that is the growth of see?
Okay, maybe I'm wrong, because I thought there were some rapid decrease of gold prices when there were major gold discoveries, such as when the Roman era or the 16th century. I will look into it later, inshallah, if I'm wrong or not.
So look at it, because if you suddenly you find a lot of gold, yes, the value of the gold can go down. Suddenly Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you a mountain of gold, suddenly you discover. Yes, the value will go down. But what I'm telling is in real economic system, people are very rational. That's why I would like to discuss with you the netting system. If the gold goes up very much, suddenly, you found a mountain of gold, the value of the gold goes down, and I have, let's say, a rice, and I say, then I will ask you to give me more gold. so that the value is maintained, the exchange rate value is maintained. So nobody will fix the price of anything in this system. Nobody fixes. So if you have, let's say, clean water in your country, then I will negotiate, put gold aside. This is the value of my rice, and that's the value of your water. Let's exchange. Both of us must agree on the value. So value is not fixed. Value is not fixed. It can change constantly. So by fixing the dinar to 4.25 grams, for example, so that it becomes a fixed measure for measure of value. So I will tell you, okay, your handphone, how many dinars I'm willing to exchange with you for your handphone? I will decide. So during the, for example, if you bring me, let's say, liquor, I will say I don't want. It's zero value for me. I'm not going to give you even a dirham for that. But a non-Muslim may want to exchange for you. So value is very relative to people and also very relative to time. During Hari Raya or during the Eid, the value of meat will go up because of the demand. So I'll have to give you more dinar a bit. So value is not a constant thing. But when you give the gram as a standard, so that becomes the measure of value. I will define how much a value, you define. Both of us agree, then exchange will take place.
Thank you so much.
No, Professor.
Thank you, Gibraltar. Very, very unique name, by the way. And
must be from Spain, near the Morocco.
No, I'm from Indonesia, but I'm currently studying in Australia.
You're from where?
Indonesia, but
Indonesia.
I'm currently in Australia. I'm studying.
Okay. You're in Perth.
Sorry?
Yeah, you're in Perth?
In Melbourne.
Melbourne.
Thank you so much. We had Bilal who wanted to ask a question, but looks like he's not here anymore. So just before I hand over to Mu'eed for the final question, if there is anybody else with a question, let me know, because Mu'eed has already asked a question, but if there isn't, then we'll go to Mu'eed. Professor Kameel, can you recommend one book for us all to get started? Perhaps one of yours, for example.
I have a book called The Theft of Nations, but I'm not sure whether it is still available. I need to reprint that book, That is and I need to also update the book. But there are many books actually people have written on these areas. I will give you a list. Maybe I will forward to you. Then you can give to your this thing. I have many reading lists that I can forward to you.
Can you start just with one for now? Just because sometimes when you have a list, you don't know where to start.
Okay, if you would like to start, you start off with my book. It's called Theft of Nations.
Okay.
Theft of Nations. Maybe in Amazon it might be. The problem is once they don't publish it anymore, it becomes a rare book, and then they sell at a very exorbitant price. You can check that. Then the second one, I would like to, if you want to understand what riba is, in monetary this thing, I will recommend you a book by Professor Imran Khan Niazi. He's from Pakistan. The name of the book is Riba and Islamic Banking, if I'm not mistaken. Imran Khan Niazi, Nyazzee. Imran Khan Niazi. This book I would recommend almost everybody into my class to read, because he derives the rules and everything, and the process derive the things from the classical scholars. How the classical scholars derive rules, and then finally he concludes why fiat money is actually riba itself. That's a very interesting book. For you to understand how to derive riba, I would suggest get that book. So to start with two, these two are
brilliant. Okay, thank you so much. I hope everyone can get those two books. I think we'll end with a final.
And Imran Khan Niazi's book also, I think, is downloadable free. You have to go to his website. You can download it. Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. The name is just someone's asking in the chat. It's Imran Ahsan Khan Niazi.
Yes. Yeah. Correct.
Okay, brilliant. Mu'eed, you've got the final question.
Yes, let's go. So, Doctor, just one quick question. On your slide, you mentioned how the stage that we're currently at is that the fiat money and the control of money is controlled currently by banks. and private. So how can we, in Western and global economies, how can that be achieved? The switch from private banks to governments. Would it mean switching to similar governance compared to how China runs the country, compared to the Western countries and other countries that rely on democratic rules, for example?
Correct. So this one, yes, I agree with you. It is something like the Chinese government. This thing is should be controlled at the parliament level, and then to go to that, you need a political will. The message it can be through civil society movements and things like that. So it is not easy. Even in America, there's something called Public Banking Institute. And they in North Dakota in the US, they have the entire this thing public banking, already instituted there. So during the crisis, 2008 crisis and so forth, almost all the states have faced problem except North Dakota. So you can check this thing, public banking. Ellen Brown, you can check with ELLEN, Ellen Brown. She leads this public banking movement institute over there. Yeah. So she was a lawyer, and then so that's a good move also. So the initial thing is, yes, let's make fiat money publicly owned. Next, we move in stages, correct?
Yeah. So you're saying the first stage is education, right?
Education, and then public banking is the way to move forward. Immediately, the low-hanging fruit that people will accept. Okay, it's just that all the banks should be publicly owned. That's it. Nationalized banks, yeah. But ultimately, I've put a lot of thought into it, and ultimately, you need to link it to goal to make the global system fair and where we can not manipulatable. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Doctor.
All right.
Thank you very much. Professor, do you have time for one more question?
You can last one, please.
Okay. Thank you very much. Hazreen. You're on mute. Can't find
the... Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I guess I met Dr. Adi and Prof. Meera before, but just want to introduce myself. I'm a mechanical engineer by training. Okay. So I said to I want to describe about the inflation curve. Inflation curve. So inflation curve for economists, it is accepted that inflation curve is exponential curve. It is flattened initially, and then it's go way up. Okay. But in engineering, I can compare this curve with high voltage, like lightning. High voltage lightning. So when the exponential curve is matured, it's like lightning. So any system in the world will collapse.
Yeah.
And how to say, it will be self-destructive.
Yeah, correct.
So the question now is to demonstrate Islamic economy. I think the inflation curve should be a sine curve. Maybe it's constant, but it's up and down, but it's zero. So the question now is how to present, how to demonstrate, so that inflation curve become sine wave.
Oh, that's interesting. No, I like to talk to people from science, because science people, they have a logical way of deducing and deduct things. That's the reason why even Tun Mahathir, being a medical doctor, he could see the why we need to go to the gold payment system, even though we could not do it. So I agree with you. If you look at it from scientific principles, including people have seen it from the thermal, the heat transfer methods, and even the boils, the pressure system, and they have linked it to monetary system for the study of the monetary system. So interesting that you say, but how to show sign? The way I see it is like this. Maybe you are better at looking at for deducing it, how to make it sign. But let me explain what probably that you can look at it. The up and downs of economy. the boom and bust. Why the boom and bust happens? The cycle, economic cycle. The economic cycle is actually is a wave, right? Now, if you look at it, when people when they take initially when the economy is in a recession, for example, serious recession, like after the COVID, then the government will pump in money, make it easy for loans. So expansionary monetary policies like reducing the reserve ratio, the required reserve ratio, and things like that, reduce the interest rate and so forth. Why? To encourage people to borrow money and do transactions in the economy. So at that time, you'll find the economy will be rising, just like China, rising. Do that. Then at the top, when a lot of people are indebted, once people become highly indebted, the banyak, you're from Indonesia?
Malaysia, Penang.
Malaysia. Oh, okay. So when people, the banyak hutang, when people have borrowed too much, what happens is that at the peak, people find difficulty to pay back the loan. Then the economy started to crunch. That's when the bust takes place, when the economy has reached the saturation of the debt. Then people start to default on loans. When people default on loan, the money supply in the economy will shrink faster. Because the way it's created to the fractional reserve banking, right? Fractional reserve banking money that's a multiplier effect, isn't it? So similarly to the multiplier effect, the money will shrink when people start to default on loans. So money shrinks and then the economy comes down. That's when recession takes place. So when recession takes place, then we will start to pump in money. The government takes expansion in monetary policies, make easier things. So when money, during recession, things like that, so people who are devastated, things like that, they'll be devastated. So you need to find where you can, at that moment, the banking system will take, they cannot take money from you because you don't have money. They will take collaterals from you. You letak cagaran, as cagaran, collaterals, house as a collateral thing. They'll take possession of that and sell it through auction at a very cheap price, not at the market price. So that's how the bank will. So wealth will already transfer to the banking system through collateral transfer. Now they start to give back loans again. Okay, start back your business and these things again, and then expansionary monetary policy again. So that's how the cycle of up and down keeps going. But in the process, wealth get transfers.
With the present inflation curve that we have now, it is indicated by the fiat money.
Correct,
so it is up and down, but towards up.
Yeah,
it's towards up. So
it is. As you said, it's like it's waiting for lightning. Yes.
Yeah. So the problem now is how let's compare with zakat fitrah, the simple way, zakat fitrah. So during my younger day, zakat is around it is 2 ringgit and 70 cents.
Yeah.
Now in Penang is 7 ringgit and 20 cents zakat fitrah.
Yes.
So it looks like zakat is increasing.
Correct.
But actually it's not.
It's
one gantang
of rice.
one gantang. So means goods against our needs should be up and down, but towards nominal is zero. So we fail to understand the zakat. What is zakat? What is korban? We fail to supply the korban for cows. So you explained just now is up and down, but it's always going up and down, going up.
Correct. So the inflation is always up. The down is the what do you call that? The debt.
Inflation.
The inflation and debt and your defaulting and so forth. But inflation is always up because the total money that is being created and the system is always going up. You can look at the statistics from Bank Negara, this thing, for all the years.
But
total money.
What happens if we measure inflation with gold?
Zero.
The curve could be different.
Zero. That's why I mentioned to you the golden constant. The moment you take the price of gold relative to real things, it's a constant.
Okay.
Get the book, the golden constant. Google, golden constant.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Amazing, mashallah. Thank you so much, Professor Kameel and Hazreen, for that question. Zaid, I'm so sorry, but Professor Kameel, it's very late, I think, in Malaysia.
You're welcome.
given us lots of time. So hopefully we can have him back sometime in the near future, or maybe you can email him if it's something you want to ask. So Professor Kameel, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. Very educational. Learned a lot from it. Thank you as well, Dr. Adi, for connecting us. Thank you everybody for joining. This session has been recorded, so it will be available for you to catch up on again. And as I mentioned, if anybody would like to join us for our next study, Kitab al-Kasb with our very own Dr. Adi, please fill out the form in the chat, and look forward to seeing you all very soon. Dr. Adi, any closing remarks?
Alhamdulillah, I'm so happy with this presentation and the engagement from the audience. Okay. In future, we shall be having more guest teachers like Professor Kameel and Professor Asa and others. Because especially when it comes to the more technical aspects of muamalah, so because to be ethical, we need to go technical, right? We cannot be like ethical pie in sky, wishy-washy concept. At the end of the day, to be ethical means to practice, and to practice, we need to go technical, right? We need to really pay attention to details. And ihsan, and one of the meaning of ihsan is to be technical, right? How do you show mercy to the cow when you slaughter that? And that is not just an ethical question, that's an ethical plus technical question. How you sharpen the knife, type of steel, and there's so many things. So inshallah, part of what we do is that, of course, we have the basic course, and then and then some aspect of the course that we do requires technical input, and for those technical input, we regularly invite guest speaker or guest teacher. So like now we have Prof. Kameel, and last time we had a Prof. Asa, and so I think that's what we are going to do in future courses. Has been always like that in our courses, and that way people or the audience can relate the wisdom of the classical text to the modern situation, and thereby we can open a way for the classical understanding to engage modern problems in a way that appeal to both Muslims and non-Muslims.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, because it's all about economic justice, like economic rationality, the golden rule. So with that, inshallah, we'll hope to see you again in future courses, and also Professor, and we have also in mind a few others. So with that, thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, I'm so happy. Yeah, I'm so happy. So all right, Omar, back to you.
Yeah. So that's it, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. Have a good day, good evening, and hopefully see you all soon. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Thank you so much, Brother Omar. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.